Hey, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on why great UX is essential to digital transformation and how to create it. And if you're living in the United States, we hope that today's session is a welcome distraction from constantly checking the status of our presidential election. And we have some great content for you, and we hope that you'll find it helpful. And I'm joined today by Luigi Greco, who is the founder and CEO of Conflux, which is a UX design agency and a partner of Intando. And so in partnership with Conflux, Intando is proud to offer UX design services for enterprises looking to build user-facing applications. And so if you enjoy today's presentation and today's content, and you want to see how we can work together to help you, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us by going to intando.com, or you can connect with us in the chat during this session, and we can take our conversation offline after this webinar. And as the presentation gets going, please feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and we'll be sure to address those as well. But without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Luigi. So thanks for being here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay, can you see the screen? Okay, great. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. As you said, I'm the CEO and founder of Conflux. We are a user experience research and design company. So basically, what we do is to understand what people want when we need to design experience, and then design with an approach that I will say is evidence-based. So means is driven by the evidence of the customer needs. So why we are actually talking about this into this webinar, and why this is connected with Intando and the micro front-end platform. Because when you design an experience that should become a piece of software, this experience basically is not driven just by beauty, but is driven by need. So the basic concept of software is that the functionality, and the functionality is defined by a UX process. This is very important nowadays because everybody's talking about digital transformation. Digital transformation is the main trend that we are living since several years. And so let's go quickly and define what is digital transformation, how we are involving in today's in this perspective as designers. So basically, digital transformation, most of all, is a process of change. So digital transformation is not just turning your company or turn an old company into something that has a digital platform, or take something old and put some digital spray on top. But a digital transformation, in the real one, it's a deep process that actually imply the integration and actually the embody of new innovation and business models. So this means that basically it's not just a process about technology, but it's a process about improving the experience of employer, customer, suppliers for the entire process, and has a deep impact on the entire organization. So we're going to talk about this, and we're going to see how design is important in this. So basically, what do you want to say and why actually we're here is that because digital transformation, basically, in every process of digital transformation, basically, the first step, the first milestone is design. So design is, I would say, a cornerstone element into any digital transformation process. And in the market nowadays, we can find many types of company they're approaching this process. I will say that basically the best one are the one right here on the right top corner, the digital master. Who are the digital master? The digital master are the company that manages to not just build some digital interface on top of their business, but are the company that in some way they turn their business and redesign their process and their customer engagement methodology, and even sometimes their business model to implement technology and digital in order to build a new way to approach clients and deliver new products and service. And this is a kind of project that you can do just when there is a strong leadership inside the company that push the digital transformation as a project process from top down. So digital transformation is not a bottom-up process typically into big organization. It's a process that typically is embraced by top manager that engage consultants that are able to bring value and support company in create basically this new vision inside the company. So in the chart you can see that basically the digital master is the one that basically are able to do this process because they turn their model, while we can see there are other companies like are more conservative. They're in the lowest part. So basically they are not implementing this because they don't spend too much in digital. Some companies are beginners, but I will say that according with a famous book about this is Digital, most of the company nowadays they are considered fashionistas. What is fashionista? Fashionistas basically is a company that pretends to be in a digital transformation process because they spray some digital touch points, they add some interface, they create some sort of interaction, but they didn't change their model deeply. They didn't implement a new vision. They didn't interact. And you can see this as very easy to see this is many industry. For example, the retail industry is a great example of this. Let's go ahead. So basically, what's important to figure out nowadays is that everything is centered of a new idea. This is new ideas that in order to design a process to create this transformation, the most important things nowadays is the customers. So we always know that in business it's very important to, first thing is know your client. Everyone know that. But now with digital, you can know your client in a much better way. You can know your client with data, with analytics, with information. You can observe how people do things. You can talk with your different methodology. And once you design digital touchpoint, the advantage of digital touchpoint is that those digital touchpoints are easy to track and they're easy, and it's easy to understand if something is performing well or is not performing well. So the biggest opportunity nowadays in this process is exactly to create a great customer experience. And to do that, the most important thing is to understand the customer expectation and to raise experience, build experience for clients in order to support your clients to basically meet this expectation. And this is not just a concept of design, like I would say the beauty is not just a process about the beauty, but it's also a process about how you communicate and what you tell to user client on your process, in this process in every single step. For example, if you're selling online an insurance or you're doing something else, the way you approach clients, the way what you're showing, what you're telling to your potential users can be completely different. And so it's not just a matter of how you design a button, but especially as a matter of understanding who is coming to your site, for where they're coming for, what you're doing, what they're searching for, how we can implement, where they interrupt their experience, where they have problems in trying to achieve their such as how they build the need to come to that site. So basically, the analysis of the customer expectation, it's defined by a multitude of different factors, built on top of many different factors that are part of a research process that we call, typically is called a user experience research. So the most successful company nowadays, we all know that the most successful company are built on top customer experience. Amazon has this vision. We find this fantastic quote in an interview that's available on YouTube of 1999. So Bezos said basically, I know at that time was the beginning, and say, technical things, many. There were many different issues that time. There were many. Controversial discussion about what Amazon could have been, and Bezos just said, for me, what really matters is provide the best customer experience. Because we all know, but he knows at that time that I was the track of the success. And this is the way to be successful, because most of the IT process project and most of the business transformation project today, they fail because big corporation, they do not what their clients want. So the biggest failure for a tech company trying to embrace a new system, trying to build a new, I would say, new platform or a new touch point is to build a software that nobody wants, a software that their users they don't want, or software is not meeting the expectation of clients. And to avoid this, here the user experience comes. The user experience research and the design, the methodology we're using and the methodology we're bringing to the Intendo capability allows us basically to support the company to build a methodology to understand where to go and support company in taking the right decision. I will say not just driven by data, but driven by the evidence. That's actually the biggest difference compared to create something because we would like to do that. We don't want to do things. We want to understand what our clients want, and then we build on top of that the best possible experience according with technology and limitations. And even in this process, of course, we have different type of priorities. There are some. The first one and the most important, of course, is the customer experience by himself, so building and designing around the users. But then the second step is that when you start doing design, when you start creating bringing this design methodology, you need to make the expectation of a new culture of leadership, a leadership that embrace design as a methodology to implement and create new process. Apart from that, it's very important also to figure out that it's important to understand not only how people want navigating to interfaces, but most important, also it's very important also to figure out what is into this interface, what are we going to tell this interface, who is going to read this interface, who is going to come. So the content strategy, analyzing data, information, tracking anything on the digital ecosystem of basically of the brand of this potential company is an important part of is able to drive the success of the entire project. So basically, I would say that a digital transformation process that is an IT-based process in reality is a sort of a new business process that is based on a new vision of the marketing that is connected with the customer experience and leadership of the company, but also with the vision of creating content and information that people want in order to build a new digital ecosystem that is more effective, is more trackable, and also is integrated with the communication of all the traffic source. And the traffic source, the one that drive traffic to the site, we all know those social, SEM, and SEO are an integrated part into this funnel. So when you're designing an interface for selling an online insurance, you're not selling just a monolithic block or something. You're building a piece, a component, part of an ecosystem, and is interrelated and needs to be connected to all the other communication frameworks inside the digital transformation and the ecosystem. So, and apart from that, apart from these main topics, there are also several other things that nowadays are very important and getting more and more important because they are part of the experience, like a wearable device or like Apple Watch or any kind of smartwatch or the new frontier of the virtual reality. So nowadays, for example, I don't know if there's a new startup now. It's called Spatial that's building new virtual offices, opportunities for people to work together. So there are new interface, new engaging interface that are coming anyway. So this can be the design of this experience can be part of this process, understanding the artificial intelligence and how this can be used to be part of this is also very important. And then there is all the world of IoT, so how we can interact with things. So all these things together are part of this big process, and they can be components and incorporated. And all these, in order to be successful, must be driven by design. That's the main point. So basically, the idea is that analyzing the customer journey, basically, we can understand all this information. So the key object, the focus of any company today, any company is embracing this process, is understand information and understand data. But I'm not talking about big data or complex thing. I'm talking about analytics. I'm talking about visual analytics, behavioral analytics, understanding how people move inside between different screens, doing some research tests. Then we're going to see pretty soon some methodologies we use, but getting information that they're actionable, information that can be used to redesign interface, and this interface can be submitted over and over in order to test and prototype concept and a creation that really makes the difference for the users. So we plan with Nintendo to bring an example, a case. I use this case also in university. Enjoy. This is a great example of a digital transformation. This is just a car that you can rent with an app. It's nothing. No, nowadays it's nothing special. We have different vendors. This is just one of those. Different company provided. But the idea behind it is very interesting. So basically, we have been rented. We rented a car for years. So we've been renting a car for years, and this process is very tedious. You need to reserve the car. You need to go in a physical place. You need to talk to someone. You need to sign a piece of papers. You need to sign a sort of kind of policies. They have to give the key. Somebody has to pick up the car. So there's a big process. So to rent a car and just spend a couple of hours doing something, you have a big I would say a big entrance curve into the process. So it's hard to get a car, and now all this is gone. I mean, it's gone in most of the city, unless in Europe. This is working very well. It was working a lot before the COVID, but so now everything is done now with just a simple application. And what is changed? It's not just the experience of the user. It's not just the fact that you're using an app to rent a car, but what really changes is the entire process. So the process that you don't have to sign every time papers, because all the papers has been signed the first time when you sign in do the agreement and you register the application. So the fact that all your data is stored is connected, and the entire model, the entire business model of renting the car changed, and the only user interface that you have between you and the company is the application and the car. So basically, this change and the entire vision of renting a car, and it's a great example of how it's a process that identifies basically a convenient way to do something with a transformation that's based on technology, but it's mostly based on experience, because the experience is completely different. It's smooth, it's simple, and is effective. So, but how we build this great experience? So we do have a process. There is a methodology. There are many methodologies. Service design and literature can be done with more than 25 different techniques that can be combined, and we can add qualitative and quantitative research. There are many different things. But with Conflux, we have a model we define with many different projects and clients. But this is research, pure research. So it means that many times every project can be different, and we can build on top of any single client's need a better process for every single client. So basically, the most important things at the beginning is the assessment. Why the assessment is important? The assessment means that it's part of the research. It's basically made with interviews with stakeholders, drafting a business model canvas or a value proposition canvas. So helping figure out with the clients what is the value of the process that they are designing, what the internal stakeholders want, what the user wants, which are the user expectation, analyzing people into their scenario, so contextual interview, focus group, and persona. So there are many different things. All this we're going to see in different. But let's go back on the flow. So basically, the idea is that by tracking this information and putting it together, we're supposed to understand exactly what people want. And in order to design the best experience for users, you want to understand exactly what the user wants and track the importance of what he wants and put together. And so basically, after this process, that can be an iterative process, because as in a classic lean agile process, you learn, track, iterate, and then you go back. So then you build a prototype, and so basically, something in this process, even if it is something that is a support of enterprise company, has the same logic of a process to create a startup. Because basically, when you create a new project, a new touch point, a new interface, it's like you're creating a new tiny startup into your organization. So then we build a prototype, and then we test with users. And by testing this prototype with users, the test can be made in different ways. Made with low fidelity, high fidelity, can be done with people in presence, remotely, in different way. We collect feedback, and we get this information. According with this information, we go back and we iterate. This is very important. This process is crucial. When I started working in this field in digital more than 20 years ago, the whole idea was that the clients had an idea, or they had a need. The marketing show up and say, "Oh, we need to build this system. I need you to make a creative proposal for this." And then an art director, a designer, a guy show up with a concept or a creative idea about doing something, like an application for fashion or for buying online tickets, whatever it is. But that process was based basically on a single person know-how and experience, and typically benchmark. And that process has the lack that the single person can fail, because it can be able to figure out exactly what the potential users want. Sometimes even the client doesn't know what their clients want. So with this process, basically, we're going to build the entire concept of the system on their own evidence. On the evidence, what we find out with interviews, with internal stakeholder, with data, with information. Sometimes if the process is based on building something that is existing, we have some data, some behavioral analytics, some Google Analytics. Sometimes even Google Analytics, everybody has, they're very rich of important information that can be used to build successful products with a minimum effort. So let's see some of these techniques. Scene deep interviews basically are the sort of interview. So this qualitative methodology is very important, because it's one of the part of talking with people. It's important to understand what people want. So in deep interviews means like understanding what people really want to do, which are the difficulties that they have in doing that. There is a theory is called the jobs theory from Christensen, the famous author of the innovation dilemma. It is about this, to try to figure out what's the customer jobs that people want to do. We typically use the framework of Osterwald. We're going to show you later. But this information is very important to start getting this. This is the first step of the investigation. Then another important things can be to do the consultative interview. So meaning observing people while they're doing something and be with them and then ask questions, or building focus group to build some sort of little debates about a specific topic related to user interface. And this, in all these three different type of format, we gain different information. Sometimes we don't use to use all three, but we can use different according to the project. But this is a great example of a way we can use to talk to people and get this information. We have also other way to do things. For example, sometimes we just observe people. We go to see what people do into retail store, into a train station to understand and track. So that's, I will say, some sort of anthropology. So let's go back to this. So once we get all this information as part of this process, we consolidate this on the canvas. This is basically the value proposition canvas. That is the canvas that define what's the value that the user perceives and needs for this job. So basically, people have we understand which are the customer job that people needs to do in order to approach this touch point. That can be an application, a site, can be renting a car, or buying online tickets, or whatever it is, and which are the gain factor and the pain factor. So which are the factor that supports the user, factor that are okay for the user, that provides satisfaction to the user, and which are the gain factor that provide friction to the user. Now, so basically this is important, fundamental, because with this we can also understand, we can support what the company is providing in terms of capability for this service. That's this part of the canvas, and then we can support the company to understand which are the part of this factor that can be proposed to clients, to users, in order to support and to achieve this gain. So when these two parts connect, when the gain factor, the pain factor connects and match, basically we build the fit. So the fit between the customer expectation and the company proposal in terms of service and content. So after that, after we understood exactly what your clients want or what they want from this service, of course, then we build personas. These personas are basically representation of typical people that can use the service that are based on data, on information. These are not based on just marketing ideas like, we know statistically that we have moms in this age. No, these are based on what we observe with interviews, we are analyzing data and getting any information. But so these are personas based on data-driven personas. And then we start building the value proposition canvas. The value proposition canvas is basically as a customer journey maps that I also want to read the slides that make the intangible customer experience invisible, because the customer experience can be a flow between different interfaces and different stages, and every one of them has a different step and different complications. So there is an example later, but one person starting to the flow, it can have multiple level of interaction. So the interaction can be in every single step of this experience. There can be tracked different emotions, like this step is built on mobile, and then this step is on desktop, and this step on desktop is working, but I find these issues. I was supposed to do this, but I didn't manage to do this. So we are starting track for every single step of the funnel of this experience, what is happening, and in order to figure out how we can improve it. So. And another great example of tracking in a more detailed way the journey is to use the the service design blueprint. Service design blueprint is a declination of the famous blueprint created by Shostak. Is an article of Harvard Business Review of 1984, and it was about IT. Basically, it was supposed to be designed for technical issues, but is greatly used in design, because in this way we can track for every single step of the experience what is the customer journey and what people should do, and the stage is divided between the front stage and the back stage. So for every single step we can track what the system should provide to the users in order to achieve the value proposition, and what is supposed to be in behind in terms of process to provide the information that is needed. So this is like the design of a restaurant. So there is a room where people are sitting and there's something is happening, but there is also something in the kitchen that is the backstage. So something has to happen in the kitchen to provide a service in the main room. And all this framework design everything. And when you're designing an application that provide a complex service, you need to get into this to design screens that make sense to the final user. So design is something not just about creating a beautiful design in terms of beauty, but it's creating a flow that makes sense and that connects the right response in terms of value proposition and the customer jobs that people needs, but also the sequence and all the information must have a sense. In order to have this sense, they have to be understand and analyze it deeply with this type of tools. So after that, a very important part of this process is building the information architecture. The information architecture is basically the hierarchical organization of content inside this touchpoint. It can be an application or a site, whatever it is. So basically, into this process, you decide where you want to place things, and you decide how these things can be placed according to who. Typically, one of the biggest errors we find, so we found this error many times, is that a company design system according to what they think that their company is. So basically, the system they design, the organization they design, is based on a reflection of the internal marketing vision or company or organization. And they do not match with their client's expectation. So it's very important to understand how your clients are looking for content inside your touchpoint, because to give an example for simple example for an e-commerce site, where do you place a t-shirt can be different. The perception of where you're supposed to be placed a t-shirt can be different from the marketing and the final users. And this perception can be different in different countries. So if you have, we have been working with the global clients in the retail industry, and and people expect to find a certain kind of items in different location inside the same site. So when you design a site and then create a multiple language, yeah, you can just do, like everybody do. You just create a multiple languages. But the reality is that the best way will be to understand where people want to find things in different countries and how they call them. What's the name, which are the labels that they use to search things. And just by doing this, companies can save millions, because typically when people do not find stuff into these stores, is that because the label that they have in their mind is not matching with the label that has been used on the information architecture, and that the organization that has been done is not the same that reflect their culture. So that's another very interesting topic, and this can be and you can imagine how this can be important to a big telco portals, for example, or portal that provides many different product and digital service. So just this type of analysis can have a very deep impact in creating a valuable, successful project. So the last step in this process is then the final design. So once you've done all this, we get to a piece of paper and we start sketching something, like creating some sort of interface that can be used to test an hypothesis. So this stage here is the hypothesis stage. So once we did this, typically in a good project, then we submit this part to final user, potential user. That can be a panel of users, internal user. It's according with the client. This can change and can be iterated. And then this becomes a wireframe, final wireframe, a pixel perfect wireframe. Pixel perfect wireframe is exactly I would say is a mock-up that provides 100% confidence in terms of dimension, size, respect of usability guidelines of in this case iOS or Android. But then it's just focused is black and white, because it's not focused on the UI, it's not focused on the brand identity, because the scope of this is to just help support the client to understand where stuff should be made, so it should be placed, and how, and if it should be moved somewhere else because it's not working. So we want to really know in this stage if this scale here is correct, or are we provide the right information into this in this point of the chart. This icon here is correct. So we design this high level of the wireframe, and then we test with user. It tests in a different way, and then the last stage is we take the brand identity of the client. Typically, this client has a brand identity manual. We take the brand identity manual, and then we apply the brand identity manual into the wireframe. And doing this, there is another process on top, and here then there has happened the magic, because basically now this thing becomes alive. The most, I would say that actually, by doing this process, company can save a lot of money, because the returns of investment in terms of savings can be very high, can be 10 to $100 for 10 to 100%, according to certain research. There is a first research that's being quoted, I think, in the communication that we did for this webinar. And why? Because if we find at this stage that something was wrong in the research part, and we messed up this, we didn't understand exactly that the customer jobs was to do A, B, or C, and was something else. We design here, at the end of this, we design all this is wrong, and then when we design something here, this is being designed wrongly. So we have to take it, throw it away, and redesign again. And doing this in this stage of design stage, and then resubmitting to users is very cheap comparing to do this, design this, develop this, go to market, invest sometimes millions of dollars in communication, and then find out that something was missing at this level of the process because of missing communication between internal stakeholder, or the wrong group of people has been, so there could be different different situations. So this process is the best bet to build application that your clients will love. Then I can
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any
Yeah. Well,
questions.
I didn't see any questions in the chat, but if there are any questions that trickle in, we would love to hear from you. And thank you so much, Luigi, for that presentation. And for everybody who's watching, Luigi, he not only knows the theory of that, but he knows how to implement all of these things. And so, if this was helpful to you, we would love to hear from you to see how Intando can help you in partnership with Conflux to help you build better UX faster. And so you can contact us at intando.com, or you can get started on the platform today at dev.intando.org. We have a getting started guide for the Intando platform and tutorials and all the documentation there. So we would love to see you over there. And we hope that you have a great rest of your day. And we will see you back here next time. Thanks, everybody.